trying to acquire properties in order to establish housing for veterans, whether it be veterans assistance, homeless veterans, transitioning veterans, and or other people that are transitioning, looking for new work, or coming into town as a temporary for training or relocation type of thing. Kind of like a short-term rental, but it's, based on beds and heads. So it's X dollars per person, but the benefit is working with the nonprofits, the VA, and or actually corporate is footing the bill. So the income is constantly there. It's irrelevant of who's there in the house. It's just a constant income of money. But that in turn pays for the mortgage and the insurances, the operations and maintenance, and any type of stipend that the company is paying for the person to be in the house. Plus, it's also residual income over and above, because it's based on beds and heads, not an actual short-term rental lease. So as each person is rotating, it's a constant influx of money from whatever corporation is sponsoring them to be there. Wound up with my call with JP and Chris, we wound up setting the goal. I started with 4 and JP was like, "Are you sure that's really a good number? That's a lot." And I was like, trial by fire. So I backed off 1 and wound up going with 3. Later the next week, I actually got a phone call from someone who is part of my own personal network and said, "I'm reaching out to you because I know that you do real estate and I trust you." And from that one call, we wound up just basically doing a data dump of his stuff. And I was like, "Dude, I got an idea for you. What do you think of this?" And he's like, "That sounds interesting." I was like, "Well, let's put it like this. You put a short-term rental in there or a long-term renter, whatever. The long-term renter, you're going to get round numbers $2,000. Short-term rentals, maybe $3,000 or $4,000. With this opportunity, you could go up to $10,000 a month gross." And he almost had a seizure. I was like, now we're at the point where I'm going beyond my knowledge. So do you want to sit down and do a business call with my partner? And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." Set up the call the following week. So I'm already down a week and a half into 2 weeks into my timeline. So I'm starting to stress. Well, next thing you know, literally the day prior to my sit down with the professional call, another person in my network, same thing. "Hey man, I know you're doing real estate. You helped me find this property. I want to turn this into a short-term rental. What else do you have?" Sat him down on the phone call. We did the data dump. I was working with him just to help him find another property in the meantime, which he wanted to turn into short-term rental. Ran into this other opportunity and I said, "What do you think of this?" And he's like, "Dude, it's going to double what I'm going to be able to get." And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." Round 2. He talked to one of his other friends and he then was quickly PCSing. So as you can tell, it's all military guys that were falling in place. And this guy got short fused. He has to be out of here by the end of March. And he wound up getting on a call with me and my partner. He decided on his own not to jump into it. But my 4th property that I had was my own. So I'm going to turn my own into that. And with doing that, I will end up being kind of like the house manager. That way I don't have to move. In the same breath, I'm going to take my NLP coaching, which my partner was just like, "Holy crap, I didn't know you were an NLP coach." So taking the NLP coaching and rolling that into working with the residents who may need transitioning or want a breakthrough to get to the next level, take that as an opportunity. And it's something else that we can add as an additional benefit to the lodging aspect to the sponsor. So there's 3 properties out of 4. The one that backed out, he wants to go with a long-term tenant. I was like, "You're not going to make the same amount of money, even if you did a short-term rental or if you were to go with this other opportunity." And he's like, "Yeah, I just want to make sure that they're secure money." Okay. If I got a corporate sponsor paying for somebody to be in the house, the income's already going to be there. It's going to be there as long as they continue to maintain that rotation of personnel. And if it goes the way I want it with VA or transitioning or even helping guys that are getting out of prison rotate and get them to transition into a professional job. I already have a contact with a guy who wants to expand his trucking business. And I was like, hey, if I can get you a place where people can stay and go to a truck driving school, would you sponsor them? He's like, absolutely. I was like, how do you want to do that? And he's like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. And I'm like, perfect. There's a truck driving school not right down the road from me. So the truck driving school, the truck driving guy who wants to expand his business, I met at the Cardone 10X conference. So he already has the mindset of building 10X. So I don't even have to feed that one. It's just like the steps, everything's falling in place. So if all goes well, come June, I will have 5 to 7 properties without really struggling, just from my own personal network.
Bob, that's great news. Question, where did these properties come from? Or are they properties that you've had, that you've rehabbed, or?
Personally owned properties who reached out to me.
Okay.
Because they trust me from just being a service member. We're just part of that. You know how it goes. It's just, part of
Understood.
that work, that brotherhood
Understood.
network. So,
yeah. So now are you going to be, so you'll be managing these properties?
yes, I will assist with the management of the properties.
Okay.
The main corporate location is going to handle all of the financials. I'm just going to need to make sure that, the local operations and maintenance is handled appropriately.
Okay, good.
Even at that point, I won't even have to do much because each individual house is going to have a house manager.
Okay. So is there any particular certification or permits that are necessary for something like this? Because I know we were looking at halfway homes. Okay.
Yeah, there is an accreditation when you go for those
Right.
specifically, and I'd have to dig through my notes. There is an opportunity for that at a later date. It's not a requirement at this time.
Okay, good. Well, that's great. I love what you're doing.
If you're in Chicago, right?
No, I'm in Houston.
Houston.
Yeah.
They're not down there yet. Tampa's the second market. The first market is Las Vegas right now. Once we get everything established and tried and true in Vegas, as we expand into Tampa, that'll be another. So, if you want to keep in touch with me, and we'll, lean into Houston, because I know there'll be a perfect market for there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It would be fantastic.
Uh-huh.
And we could talk offline. I can put you in contact with my partner.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll get your phone number in chat. Okay.
Cool.
Well, awesome, Bob. Thank you so much for sharing. I think one thing that I've been hearing about, like, every time that you guys succeed into something, is how networking, it's been a great help. Like those connections that you make on every event that you assist, or even like whatever thing that you participate in life. Like, for example, you are pretty much a lot of people knows you and relies on you and trusts you just because of your past. So I think it is really important how we keep those connections, and also at the same time the opportunity that we have on creating this new like bonds with other people. Because I mean, for what I was hearing, I mean, you're pretty much establishing partnerships like all the way around. So I think that's like what we can value the most on real estate. I mean, sometimes we don't have to know it all, but we have to be capable enough of knowing with who we can ask, or where do we recur with that information. So I think that was pretty awesome. Thank you.
There are a lot of opportunities that can trigger off of this, Bob. There's halfway houses. There's homes for battered spouses and women with kids, because we've had some people approach us with that.
So yeah, you're hitting all the high notes. You're hitting all the right notes and all that stuff. And believe it or not, one that nobody even thinks about, off the charts, don't even think about, foster care.
Yep,
Kids
right.
grow out of foster care. So that literally is my second agenda. Other than the transitioning people that are looking for work, or people, that need a second chance. But I mean, shit, the kid never had a chance. They grow out of the system at 18 years old, beat feet. There's nothing you can do to stay in foster care once you're 18. So what would be better than having somebody who's willing to sponsor a kid who's growing out of the system? The kid may or may not want to learn a trade or go to school, but they're going to sponsor them. And then, hey, come in here, put a roof over your head. You know, I'll just use my home as an example. I got a tiny 1,200 square foot house, but it's a 3-bed, 2-bath. You share a bedroom with somebody, but you have full access to the house. You got Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
but do online training. You got cook. They get a stipend for their groceries. So, you know, it's just a spiral. It's and they're, the worst that anybody could tell you is no. But what's the worst feeling ever? When somebody tells you no. So just, you know, that I keep, it just constantly is thinking, you know, why do I have it as well as I have it? Yes, I've struggled. I busted my ass. I have, you know, my high school education, that's it. But I work for the government. I've worked for the government for many, many years. I've been in the military for many, many, many years. I work for Raytheon. So I fell into the job, and I do something that is a super niche field where my income is very lucrative, and I've taken advantage of it. But it's not for me. I just want to get back. I got nothing better to do with it. You know what I mean? So all the better to reinvest on education for myself, but then grab others who, if you're willing to grab my coattails and ride along, hold on tight, because I'm actually just starting to get into my jog mode. So
Yep, I'm with you. This this whole concept of the subsidy housing really is a niche market, but it's one that you just, well, there's a lot of opportunities there. And then you can also, on the other side, you're helping people. So
absolutely. And there's all kinds of different things. Like a different friend of mine in my network who has nothing to do with the military at all, a little old lady. She actually is doing something similar up in North Carolina, but she's going through grouphomes.com, I think it was. That was one of them. Plus, she's reaching out to all kinds of different VA stuff. Like, there's a lot of things for veterans that, you know, we take advantage of, and we don't really think of it. But if you can steer the ship in the right direction and get all those people to converge in one spot, just imagine. You know what I mean? So I'm not looking here. I'm looking the way big picture. You know, I don't have any blinders on anymore. It's just like, look, if I can help you, jump on board. Let's go. Oh, you got a good idea too? Shit. I never thought of that. Write it down. Sorry
Yeah.
for
And that right there is a great company culture. I like that. I mean, you are building, even though that you have already like the big picture, I think you are settling a really nice culture whenever your company start growing. I know you're it's gonna have to start hiring, and that's something really good to share with whoever you're working with. I mean, that's something that we appreciate personally working with Sean and Roger, is the fact that we always put the culture of the company, which is the part of being flexible and being understandable, because we're on different countries, all of us that work for TRC. So I
Wow.
think something that Sean and Roger nailed down perfectly was the part of the company culture, because one way or the other, that's what keep us committed here, and showing up, and also showing for you guys, and putting all the work. I mean, I think that like eventually, and on the way that it's going, you're building a really nice thing. Like, you're giving back, but at the same time, it's something that whoever is going to be really happy to work with you on the future if this keeps growing on the way that it is. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So who's next? Who had any acquisitions this week, or any tips that wants to share with the rest of the group on how we can do better on acquisitions? Really? No one? Let's say something different that you made in order to close a deal. Oh, you don't have any deals going on?
I don't have any deals going on. It's pretty quiet here. I mean, I'm getting a lot of wholesaler leads, but the majority of them are not taking into account some of the other expenses that we have to go through as flippers, such as borrowing money, holding fees, and some of the and the fees that's going to cost to resell the property. So they don't take those into consideration. A perfect example, This weekend, I thought I had something really good going on. Something happened on Saturday morning. I was kind of getting psyched. Then I started doing the data, and the property value in good condition was about 290. Okay. And they wanted 175. I said, okay, there's a big enough spread there. When I started doing the analysis and looking at the pictures, the whole interior is just studs. Okay. It was just studs. And so my cost to build that out just went from the usual 40, 45 to close to 75. And that just knocked all the profit out that I could do. So I think that's what's happening. Wholesalers say, oh, we got this much spread. Yeah, but it's like here. And for those of us that are borrowing money from private investors like I am, I have to stand in front of them and present this and try to sell them on this. If the margin's really low, they're going to worry about the risk. And I think I don't know what the rest of you guys are seeing, Bob and John, but that's what we're seeing here in Houston. And we still pursue stuff, but it's tight.
Got it. Yeah. So it's like at the point of the conversion, there might not be such a beneficial deal at the end of the day for you guys. On
Is
what
that
market are
because-
you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that because of your wholesale sale, like your wholesalers, or just the trying to do a regular cold acquisition?
No, it's the wholesaler. I mean, they're,
Mm.
in the past, I think when I started 2-3 years ago, the typical wholesaler would put maybe $7,000 on it
Yeah, not now.
as a
They're-
fee.
they're
No,
out there-
they're putting 15, 20, 25,000, maybe 30,000, and they're not budging off of that. And
My favorite I've seen so far has been 64,000 as a wholesaler. I'm like, dude, you're greedy. There's literally zero meat on.
That's what it is. That's what the problem is. But my question, and the wholesalers won't answer me because I'm sure it's a good response, is okay, so you have a 30-day contract, a wholesale contract with this person. What happens when you don't sell it? Because there's other people like me that are saying the same thing. What happens to that house when that thing goes? And no one's answering me.
The contract ends, or they renegotiate the contract, or they eat it and they end up buying it themselves. So there's a big group here. It's a Remax. They do the same thing, but they guarantee that they sell your house in 30 days.
Right.
If they can sell your house in 30 days, they buy it.
Right.
They are not wholesaling at all, but they're buying up all the wholesales so that they can resell them as flips, and they're marking up the prices. So
Yep.
what the wholesalers are doing, they're trying to push them out, and in pushing them out, they're raising the prices. Well, a perfect example, I had one, was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was. The the girl sends me this wholesale deal in a wonderful neighborhood, and it was not relative to the comp that they gave me. And I'm like, hey, I'm interested in this property and the location. I was like, but your comp doesn't match. Oh, well, you got to do your due diligence. And I'm like, yeah, I just did my due diligence. I'm like, your comp is not accurate. You're giving me a comp with a house with a pool that's refinished, blah, 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 blah. And you're giving me this bomb over here, and you're asking for 20K less than what they sold this for. Well, that's going to be the ARV. And I'm like, based on what? It's a $50,000 house. You're trying to sell it for 330. It's not going to ever happen. You're never going to sell.
Yes, exactly. That's the other thing with the wholesalers. They're, we those of us that have been trained right to mitigate risk, we do our due diligence, and we pull tax records, we pull the ARVs, we pull other stuff. We look at pictures, we do all that stuff along with the what it's going to cost to rehab, and you put a little 5% contingency fee in there, once you get your rehab to cover, oh my God, where did this come from? And but they're comping new houses, brand new houses and you're looking at a house that was built in 1980. Say, well, there's a 40-year difference. I said, you can't compare these two. And like you said, one's got a pool. Oh, it's only an extra half bath. Well, you know what? I have to adjust the ARVs for that. And then when I get the right number, they're not interested. Most of them don't even bother seeing the house. I once went to a house that a wholesaler gave me I thought it was going to be a great deal. And my son and I, Chris is walking in the back. He says, "Hey, Dad, you got to see this." And I walk around the back. The whole back of the house is empty. I mean, no wall, no nothing, no brick. You just went right through. So I called the wholesaler. I said, "Did you see this?" He goes, "No, that wasn't there." He says, "You haven't been here. You haven't seen the whole back side of the house is gone." I said, "I'm going to need $30,000 just to put a wall up here."
That
So
was like one this past weekend I just looked at was, are you guys familiar with the Mongols?
No, I'm not sure what the Mongols are.
Motorcycle club.
Okay.
Let's put it like this. They're worse than Hell's Angels.
Okay.
Across the street is one of their chapters.
Oh,
I was like, this is a great, holy crap. No, thank you.
yeah, that's kind of like when we're driving to a property and all of a sudden, the closer we get to the property, the more bars we see on the doors and windows. And I say, "Yeah, this has got a good price, but how are we going to sell this once we have it?" Yeah, I'm sure we can get a great price for this, but we ain't gonna. So I think our biggest issue is, we want to be able to be running and gunning and looking at properties, making offers and doing things. And we're just not, we're trying to put our lines in the water, to get as much fishing as possible, but we're just not seeing anything yet. We're just not seeing it because inventory is low. Wholesalers are they're eating each other. Okay. I went to a wholesaler networking event here in Houston last week. It was Thursday night. We went to one about 6 months ago and we made some contacts and everything. This was like piranhas in a lake. They were eating each other up, and I just kind of backed away and just said, I'm going to take my drink and I'm going to leave because no one was interested in dealing with us. They were just trying to do this daisy chain wholesaling,
Astro flipping.
Yeah, exactly. The astro flipping. And I just, it's kind of frustrating, but we're going to hang in there because we know what we're doing is right. But, and you got to have wholesaling as a exit strategy. I understand that, but there's just no extra inventory out there right now. And it'll happen because interest rates are going up. People can't even afford the houses now, even with the low interest rates because of the prices. Now the interest rates are going to go up, so the prices will probably stabilize a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, then just hang in there. I think at this point, with Bob's opinion and yourselves now, I think it's more like who has more patience in this game, right? Towards the end of the day. So we're gonna be here just to see how that one goes. Okay. Good luck on that one. John, anything that you want to share? Anything new, refreshing that you would like to share with the group?
I don't have anything new and refreshing. Just trying to get systems in place. Working through, trying to get Max some work. I got a whole landing page and some videos I need to make that I haven't done. That's how life is right now. But I did send some just text messages out because in between my direct mailing and I'm moving to cold calling. So I sent some text messages out with some lists just for the fun of it. We'll see how that goes. I already had one guy try to the number business was wrong. So it was basically it was a towing business and whatever else. He's probably working on cars, right? And he's like, "Yeah, that one's for sale too." And I was like, "Oh, you're going to sell your business as well? Are you getting parts and all that stuff?" I just kept texting him like random stuff. And finally he came back around and he was like, "Well, I do have a couple properties." And I was like, "Well, that's great." I was like, "If you ever want to talk about not paying capital gains on those, just let me know." And he's like, "Can you call me right now?" And I was like, "No, I'm on a call, but I'll call you in a minute." So it's kind of funny. We'll see how that ends up, but he's just fishing for stuff, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that yesterday you had like a call with a VA, right? To get something done on that end as well. Well, that's
Yep.
good. Like
Yep.
you say, like just get the systems going, and I'm pretty sure like everything's gonna go, like continue rolling on his own.
Yeah. Then I'll just try to go help Sal get some leads. I'll just get my lead engine running. I'll just do it for everybody.
Drive them to your website, man. Have them fill out the thing and schedule a call.
Yeah. I don't like that because I gotta have time
You gotta
to
follow up.
well, it's the problem is I've got a full-time job and I've got to have somebody do
That's
it.
right. That's right.
That's
And
where
I'm
the
tr-
VA comes in. Like,
right.
yeah.
Hear you, man. I work full time too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we had a VA about 6 months into our business, and we didn't manage it very well. She was going off script. She was not saying the things we wanted to say. When we started listening to some of the recordings, we were very disappointed. So we got another VA and a little better trained, but we just had to back out. We were spending some money every month, and it just wasn't generating anything at all.
right.
So if we had to do it again, which we probably will once we get a little bigger, we would have a very tight script for them, or script book, because as much as they do the training there, these were people out of the Philippines. They don't have the answers. They're not up to date with the answers that need to be had. So I think if we had to do it over again, like you, John, build a system in place where they can access the responses and do something a little better.
Yeah.
Man, talk to JP Kilduff, man. He's got that shit locked down tight.
Yeah, I know he does. Yeah, I know. I wish, yeah, he's on it. He's just on it. So
Yeah, I mean, sometimes other things that it work and at least have worked for in here, it's having interns. I mean, it's not necessarily an expense, but also can help you like build what we were talking with Bob, like the culture of the company. Sometimes you don't feel that committed to actually respect the guidelines, and also not having really a specific process can become kind of an issue. I did long time ago, I did work in a call center, and we had really like tight scripts, but also we had the flexibility to empathize with our clients. So I think, yeah, kind of like nailing down the process, but also at the same time generating that bond with whoever you're hiring. So just so he can get the feeling of your company. Because if not, if it's going to become all scripted, and I don't think like if I understand the feeling that you want to give to your possible leads, a scripted is not gonna make it either. Like it has to be a combination, both the culture of the company, and also what you want them to say at the same time. But yeah, I think yeah, VAs sometimes is like whenever you cannot do something, hiring like like sending some of the work to somewhere else is gonna be the best choice. Is just like making sure you have it ready for these people to come and take the load off of you.
Yeah. Just do it yourself a few times, get the process set up, and then go from that. But you got to train to basically do that process. That's the big thing. SOPs.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I think we're all good. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing, for joining. I know it's a little weird. Sean is not here, but yeah, I'll have you all guys join in. I think we're all good unless anyone else has something to share or anything before I close the call.
Question over towards Max, because I know he doesn't talk. So do you work with the websites at all?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Okay, so if I put together stuff, I'm part of the foundation. So if I was to want to change anything on the website, just go through the support line, you guys would just change it roughly to what I'm looking for, or reach out and say, hey, what exactly are you looking for?
Oh no, yeah, you can actually send like any inquiry to our support email. So yeah, if you want to make any changes, updates, or anything, you can just send them right away, and we can like work on them. Definitely.
Okay, yeah, because once I get these places locked down, I'll have to get their testimonials and have that added.
Oh, sure, definitely, we can add them for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
whatever it's regarding to adding like a section or making a few changes or updating something within the pages that you already have, that's something the support can handle.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
also if you're not sure, you can just simply send them to us and we can tell you, hey, we can do this or we can't do this one. So yeah, feel free to send them.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty familiar with real estate, so they will work on what they think is best for your website. But if you have any specific ideas on how you want it to look like, we're also good with guidelines as well. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Cool.
think
Appreciate it.
we've done something with that. We sent into support a couple of blogs that we had translated into Spanish. And you guys are asking us where do we want to put it? And we don't even know yet how we want to get it on there, whether it's just separate or part of a city page. So we're having to discuss that. But we also took from the last 2 weeks, we're building some lead magnets so that we can kind of do some linking up. So we've got a couple of things to talk to support with in the next few weeks.
Awesome. Well, yeah, really looking forward for that then.
Mhm.
Well, then I'm going to put a stop in today.